What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or GameOverJesse as some of you all may know me, here with Kayla, who is our special guest for the day for the Hylians Gamescast. And of course, as always, except last week, we have Daniel.
Hi!
Yes, say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hello!
Yes, today we will be discussing the top 10 features, gameplay mechanics, or just random cut content removed from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. These are in no particular order, and we have some of these we're going off of memory, but a lot of these we do have the actual quotes from Aonuma, Fujibayashi, or the other people who worked on the games. So to start us off, the very first piece of cut content, we have the hook shot or claw shot. Now, yes, we're not
This
going
is a
in.
soft spot for us all.
Yes, we have a previous video on this, but I believe this is Fujibayashi, the director of Breath of the Wild. His quote from the interview says, "Hookshot was one we experimented with and tested, as well as the beetle from Skyward Sword." It just lightninged again.
Just lightninged again.
Yeah. No, I seen like lightning struck. Like I seen a flash of light come through the window.
The lightning comes first.
Yes, that's why.
What?
Yeah, true story.
It's so spooky.
Thor told me.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah,
He
he's
said, the lightning comes first, by the way.
yeah. All right. So after a lot of
The lightning comes first, but sorry.
After a lot of experimentation and testing, we weeded out all the ones that had potential detract from the gameplay and enjoying the game. What's left currently, the 4 items, were really what would draw out the fun of the game. During the original experiments, they played around with allowing Breath of the Wild players to obtain objects within dungeons as you could in previous games. They even tried the Link Between Worlds approach, although that was a little limiting. They continue. We did not want. We did at one point test what it would be like to be able to obtain some of these abilities in some point in the story. Fujibayashi said, "But when we do that, you are pigeonholed into having a specific order of dungeons. We did have ideas that if a certain dungeon needs bombs, for example, we might put a little bomb icon on the dungeon walls or somewhere on the ground. So potentially, not only would you have gotten the hook shot, or even before that it says they also experimented with the beetle from Skyward Sword. Fun fact, in Skyward Sword, before it became the beetle, it was a rocket-powered glove. That Link would put a glove on his hand, and it would shoot out with a rocket, and you could just grab
cool,
stuff.
Actually, that's
Yeah.
I always thought it was just a replacement for the boomerang, but they wanted to have more control over the boomerang.
Yeah.
But we need to go back to the last topic. I want them to add the rocket-powered glove back.
That was... Yeah, maybe next time we can do like a top 10 of Skyward Sword cut content. But that was during, I remember I was writing for Zelda Dungeon at the time. It was one of the articles that I actually wrote. It was covering one of the major Iwata asks for Skyward Sword, which were really great interviews with the developers of the different games and stuff. But yeah, what do you guys think about this? Since there are 10 on this list, we won't go as in-depth as we have been on the previous topics, so we can kind of get through fairly quickly. So hook shot or claw shot, whatever variation it could have been, hopefully it would have been like a double claw shot scenario, so you could be Spider-Man, which is something that they also mentioned from a different interview, that you could basically like hook shot your way around or claw shot your way around and pretend you're Spider-Man, like
So
going
Link
between
confirmed
the
as
mountains.
Spider-Man.
Maybe.
I think it would have been a really cool idea. Oh, it would have helped so much if they had like mountains that were just like dedicated to climbing with a hook shot or a claw shot. But
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was, it also mentioned in the same, which is, I guess, a bonus canceled thing, getting the dungeon item, or getting the items in dungeons like traditional things. And then they would have, just as in A Link Between Worlds, had a picture of which item was needed for that dungeon.
It kind of makes sense. You kind of get the champion abilities at the end of each of the Divine Beasts, so I kind of figured that was like more the stand-in for receiving items in dungeons. Just like because they're more kind of like optional. Like you actually don't really need them, but they're very very helpful. But other than the first 4 shrines, that's about it. Like that, those are the kind of the stand-ins.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see the hookshot. The hookshot's always like pretty much always my favorite item in pretty much any Zelda game it's in. I would rather see the hookshot than the claw shot, and here's why. Now I normally the claw shots, like especially in Twilight Princess, I like better, but
tread lightly.
But especially double claw shots. But what I'd like to see is hookshot in Breath of the Wild, because the claw shot can grab onto whatever it can grip, basically. So usually there's like specific claw shot targets. The hook shot in like Ocarina of Time, Link Between Worlds, Link to the Past, etc. Basically whatever it can hook into, mostly wooden things. So if they limit it to, you can use the hook shot, but it can only hook onto wooden things, rather than just whatever it can grip on, which is usually just targets.
So here's a question.
Basically you just have to target trees and stuff like that, and so you can't just use it for any old mountain and rock climb that way. You still have to like be wary of your environment and stuff. So it would feel less game breaking than if you could just hook onto any rock and pull yourself on. That's just my train of thought. What's your question, Jesse?
So you mentioned it hooking into wooden stuff as opposed to just like grabbing onto targets and stuff. Yes, arg. With Breath of the Wild, there are a lot of wooden crates and barrels all over the place.
Oh yeah.
So
and trees.
Yes, I imagine if you hook shot a crate, you will get pulled towards it. But barrels, like in Skyward Sword and other games, weigh enough for Link to actually pick up. Like that's one of the beginning tutorials in Skyward Sword. So in Breath of the Wild, if you hooked onto a barrel, would you be pulled towards it, or would it be pulled towards you? Now the answer to this
towards you, yeah,
can be interesting, depending on what's inside the barrel.
Oh.
So like if the barrel is empty, it'll be pulled towards you, and then you'll catch it and you can throw it as an attack or something. But if there's rubies or food and other stuff in it, weapons, then you'll be pulled towards it. So it would be a clever way to be like, is this barrel important, or can I just destroy it?
Clearly I didn't check out barrels because I didn't know that there are things in them occasionally.
Yeah, there are. You
guys were like talking about like, well, it depends on what's in the barrel, and I was like,
what's in
the barrel's always empty.
No, you can. Usually it's either apples or arrows.
Yeah.
So there's not really much, but I mean, still, like, arrows are good to get. And apples are a dime a dozen.
Apples are great.
But yeah, like, that's just so spooky loud. I know that there's like some really good puzzles in like Stone Tower Temple in Majora's Mask, for example, that use really good use of the hook shot, only being able to grip into wooden things. So there's like a treasure chest on the ceiling. You don't look at it and think, that's a hookshot target. It's a treasure chest, and you need to flip the dungeon upside down. But then, before you can flip that upside down, you need to get to an area, and then you realize, okay, well, I can actually hookshot into that. And, if they worked it right, it could be really good without being game-breaking, but I understand why they cut it out. So, sorry,
I think
blinding.
That was... whenever they announced the Champions Ballad on the podcast you and I discussed, we hoped that was one of the abilities or weapons that they would include in. But they didn't really give any new items in the Champions Ballad.
Oh, just upgraded abilities, and that's...
Yeah, and like, the weird thing is, like, with the motorcycle, the Master Cycle Zero, whatever it's called, it doesn't really make too much sense for me. Like, in a way, it's like if they have these giant mechanical divine beasts, obviously they're going to have something like a motorcycle, like a smaller thing that someone could ride around instead of just a massive thing. So it kind of does make sense, but traditional Zelda games, you think motorcycle, it's not going to make too much sense, but it is fun. So my question, and you don't get it until the very end of the game. So my question is, they already had the beetle programmed into the game. They already had the hook shot, claw shot, whatever it was going to be, designed for the game. So it's not like they would have had to take more time out to develop this. It was stuff they already had, they made for the game, decided it didn't work, took it out. with the DLC, why didn't they just be like, hey, you beat the game, here's a motorcycle, also here's the hook shot or whatever, go have fun.
Yeah, I would be really game for that. That would be awesome.
All right. So,
Yeah.
Final thoughts, Daniel. Yes, no, hook shot, claw shot, do you want it?
Hook shot, claw shot, it's all good. It's always good.
All right. Daniel hates the idea, Kayla. So what do you think? Hook shot, claw shot, should it be in Breath of the Wild?
Like you guys said, I feel like it would be really game breaking. Like if they could find a way to include it, then yes.
All right. Even if
Heck
it was
yes.
like given to you similar to the motorcycle?
No.
No? What? What do you mean
Yes.
no?
Not
Yes.
game breaking? Okay, just no.
What? Because I do agree, if it was given to you at the very beginning, then Gibbs in the chat says Kayla say yes. Yeah, similar to the way, like, if they do give it to you at the beginning or early on in the game, I would see it being kind of game-breaking, because there are puzzles you have to figure out where if there's, like, thorns or something blocking you from getting to a dungeon, and then you can just hookshot past it, then it kind of...
no, it's definitely like a later game thing that you would get.
Yeah, so that would kind of,
But-
like, be a cheap
I mean, there
way
is
to get
one
past
shrine
it.
like that, though, where there is, like, thorns around it, and I think you're supposed to burn them and stuff.
Yeah.
And I
that's
would
how
just get
do it.
around it by, like, I would just climb up a ledge and then just paraglide down anyway. So, like, there's still kind of a workaround anyways.
Yeah.
You know?
There's always a way.
We've
Yeah.
had a lot of really great people in the chat. This is probably the biggest chat that we've had. Maybe I should label that it is the podcast.
Maybe.
Not
people
just-
will stop watching.
Yeah, because like with the Nintendo newscast, we usually get like half as many people watching. But since I said it was the Highlands Gamescast, maybe all the people
Everyone knows.
yeah, like now people are interested, so they're like, oh, hey, I watched this, I'll watch it live. Yeah.
There's-
So, what?
There's one thing about the motorcycle you reminded me of. I can't remember where it was, but I saw someone comment on I think it was a comment on a video somewhere, where they said that an issue they had with the motorcycle being included in Champion's Ballad was that because the motorcycle was in it, that meant Mario Kart 8 was now canon. And I was like,
Someone
What?
commented on a video that I had where they said, now this isn't an exact quote, I don't really remember. I posted it in the Discord because I was trying to get other people's opinions on it as well. But it said something like, now that Breath of the Wild's DLC has confirmed Mario Kart to be canon, and then they went on about something
it
else.
hasn't.
I'm
I
like-
think that was where I saw it, because that's usually where I go to scope out the comments
Yeah.
for the podcast and everything. But I was just like, how? Like, the Hylian Shield is in Smash Bros. Does that mean Smash is canon?
Yeah.
I
So-
don't know. Like, it makes no sense.
All right. So, now the motorcycle, the Master Cycle Zero in Breath of the Wild, before it was introduced in the Champion's Ballad trailer that released, I think, at the Game Awards, it was first teased during concept art that was shown off for Breath of the Wild. It had Link in like a weird hipster-looking outfit, and then beside him was a different motorcycle, but it was just concept art. No one really thought it was something that was intended for the game. I think most people just assumed it was like they're sitting around drawing, coming up with crazy ideas, and then working out what actually makes sense for the game. At the time, no one really thought a motorcycle made sense, so they just thought, oh, this is concept art, nothing else. But then it gets released as actual DLC. Something else that was just concept art was Link in a weird submarine scuba diving outfit. So,
Does that mean they were, like, planning to be underwater section?
yeah.
You know? 'Cause that was really the biggest thing missed. Like, okay, other than dungeons as they used to be, that was a big chunk of what was missing in Breath of the Wild, was like anything underwater.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now that I think about it, there was really nothing like underwater.
Yeah, like you could swim around and grab fish, and you could use magnesis to pick up stuff. I'm looking
Yeah.
Who
for the
swims and
image.
grabs fish? You have to throw the bomb at them to fish. Come on.
No, I'd just dive in there and just get them.
Or wow, I would just
Get
throw
'em!
my bombs
Or-
at them and go pick them all up when they're dead.
Or what's fun is if you do Cryonis at just the right moment, you can just like pick it up with it.
Yeah.
There's something weirdly satisfying about that, and it's just flopping around on the top.
All right. So you can see a picture of this if you go to the chat. I posted a link, but that's going a bit
Link
too
to a
fast.
picture of Link.
I'm posting it in the Skype discussion
Link
as well.
pics.
So this is number 9 or number 2 on our list, depending on which way you want to go with it. But it has Link in a
This is a
weird,
Metroid.
yeah, scuba diving outfit. He still has his sword and shield. There's the Metroid beside him, and it's just like a really baggy scuba diving outfit. And this was something that they released alongside the first concept art they released for the motorcycle, which did end up making its way into the game. So that leads to this also probably being in the game as well. But then they thought, well, there's already so much to do. Let's take away the underwater exploration. Or maybe they thought, let's have a more interesting way to explore underwater. Like typically it's the Zora armor that lets you go underneath the water and explore around. And I believe they also mentioned that there was the iron boots at one point in this game as well that would have sunk you down like it traditionally does, but for whatever reason there are no real underwater exploration areas in this game. But we do have concept art of if it would have not been the Zora armor and boots that let you sink down, then it would have been this weird, clunky, really baggy, Metroid friendly.
Metroid friendly.
You can't get at you in there.
Also, is it a Metroid or is it the weird jellyfish-looking Metroid-esque things found in Jabu Jabu's belly in Ocarina of Time?
What are those called again? They're just pretty much just jellyfish, though, aren't they? Did they
It's
really
definitely a Metroid.
That's 100% a Metroid, though.
All right.
That's the thing. It's just its design, its
Well, like
color, its
Link.
little
Okay,
three
so
little
Link's Awakening.
nucleus things.
Link's Awakening has its chain chomp, but it's not called a chain chomp.
What, Bow Wow, isn't it?
Oh, the
Yeah.
Bow Wow.
Bow Wow.
Yeah. So, like, maybe this could have been called, like, this was an enemy designed for the underwater segments. That is
Are
a
you
Metroid.
sure? What if it was just a doodle? What if they were like really bored and they're like, you know what, this could really use a Metroid?
Maybe they're just like, I need something gross, squid-looking like. Quick, what's something we've
Gotta
got?
be drooling.
No, like
underwater.
what I was
That
How
doesn't
thinking.
is
make
it drooling
sense.
underwater?
What I'm thinking is they, in the same way that they reused enemies like the chain chomp to the Bow Wow, they used this as a way to, like, you know, the same way that Mario and Luigi became Ingle and Talon. Was that their name?
Yeah, Ingo and
Lon,
Talon.
yeah, from Lon Lon
Yeah.
Ranch. So,
And Metroids were in Kid Icarus as well. Straight up.
all right,
They were just there, so...
I don't remember that, but
Yeah.
I didn't
the
play a
first-
lot. I didn't play a lot of Kid Icarus. So.
The, like, NES Kid Icarus. There's just straight up, there's Metroids in it.
Yeah, and everyone in the chat,
So-
if you want to look at this, I posted the link. You can go scroll up and try to find it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
think
don't
there are
talk too
also
much.
Metroids in a Kirby game. There's one Kirby game that has Metroids in it, I think.
yeah. So like this could have been a doodle of just the Metroid, or it could be like, hey, that's a cool enemy design. Let's put it in the game, and then they just ended up scrapping it altogether.
Could be placeholder as well.
Yeah.
While they were like needed a different squid enemy. Because there are in the Lakebed Temple in Twilight Princess, there are kind of like jellyfish ones that you do need to like pull their nucleus out with the claw shots.
But
Yeah,
They're
Daniel,
kind of Metroid-like.
that's not Metroid because
Metroid's a
Metroid.
girl.
Metroid's the girl in the suit.
Yeah.
All right. Final
Kayla's
thoughts.
quit.
Final thoughts on Link's underwater scuba diving adventure suit.
I don't know if I like this design.
Yeah, I definitely
hold
hold
like
it up,
the
Daniel,
design.
I
so
like-
people can see.
Oh,
Yeah, Daniel,
I was
show
looking
us
at
your
my
phone.
that's it.
Wow.
You know those divers guys in Wind Waker? The deep sea diver guys? They're actually like they just got like the giant.
Sploosh.
No, Sploosh. Not that guy, but there are these deep sea diver guys. You kind of find them out at sea, and they've got pretty much just like a speedo and then the big
Oh, my
deep sea
favorite.
helmets. I would like to see a helmet like that if they were gonna work it in. I don't know. Or the Varuta Divine Beast helmet to give you like underwater breathing instead of swim speed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
I'm doing a brain.
Call Me Zelda One More Time says that it's definitely Link as an astronaut. Do you know what? I see that.
And
I
actually-
see that.
An oceanic astronaut. No, it could be astronaut.
You know what? Yeah, I see it. It could.
And then Metroids are space. But I think when it was introduced, like during the presentation, they introduced it as underwater thing.
I don't know,
But
I'm just
that
skimming the
is-
article to see if.
That is a good segue into our next canceled part, because there is a cutscene that Nintendo showed off where they experimented with the aliens returning and taking over. Yes.
Oh yes, the flying sauce. I think it's the thumbnail of this.
Yeah, it is actually what we're using as the thumbnail.
Of this live stream. Yeah.
So the segue comes from if they would have had aliens coming and attacking Link, shooting off their missiles and rockets, exploding everything, it would kind of make sense for Link to have his own way to explore space. So maybe that's his space-dronaut suit.
Astronaut.
Yeah,
Space-dronaut.
yeah, it's a new word. Miyamoto gave it to me directly. Yes. Yeah, we're buddies. Miyamoto. He likes talking about squids, tacos, and space-tronauts. Yeah,
Oddly specific.
yeah. Well, he's a very specific
You know-
man.
Can you trust a guy who invented bloopers in Super Mario Bros? I mean,
What?
the blooper enemies, the squids in Super Mario Bros. The man, he invented that. Can you really trust him?
Why wouldn't we trust him?
Because he invented the bloopers.
The bloopers are awesome.
Excuse me? They're the worst Mario enemy.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah. So
Daniel decides to kill me.
for the people commenting currently saying, but guys, Zelda would never have
What?
aliens. That's too far out there. I point towards Majora's Mask,
Yes.
where
Aliens
they
are out
cows.
there, guys.
they came to abduct the cows from Termani Ranch
Romani Ranch.
Romani
In
Ranch.
Termina.
in Termina. Yes, I totally did not get that wrong.
Isn't that your favorite Zelda game?
No,
Termini Ranch.
Termini Ranch.
Termani
Salad
Ranch.
dressing.
Romani Ranch.
Romani Ranch. But the Romani, Chateau
Chateau Romani.
Chateau Romani milk.
Like some good milk.
Yeah.
That's way better than Lon Lon milk.
it's-
like
it's
like
your-
wow.
Yeah.
Lon Lon milk gives you what, like 6 hearts?
Romani gives you.
Romani,
Full-
Chateau Romani,
I would always
hearts.
use it.
unlimited magic power.
I would always use it with the Fierce Deity mask to have
Oh.
unlimited sword beams.
Yeah.
Just kill everything. Everything.
It's almost as good as Grandma's soup. Best Zelda of all time, Grandma's soup.
What about the Yeti soup?
Not as good as Grandma's soup.
It's racist.
Yes.
All right.
Maybe I love
Wasn't-
Grandma.
Wasn't there a theory that the Sheikah were aliens though for a while?
Is that a real theory?
Yeah, you guys haven't heard of that one?
No.
Wow. Well, pocket that one for another really bad theory
Save
episode.
that for the next.
All right. So before we move on to number 4, guys, should the aliens have been in Breath of the Wild?
You know what? I like them in the way they're portrayed in Majora's Mask. They're a very mysterious kind of side piece, you know?
There are no cows in there are no cows in Breath of the Wild, correct?
Oh, God.
No, there are cows, aren't they?
There's bulls for sure. You see some bulls in the
Yeah,
wild.
but are there cows?
Don't think there are any
Did
cows.
they just abduct the bear?
So
And the milk, there's like goat's butter.
what
I think
would
there's goat milk.
so the aliens would come? They're launching all those missiles at Link because they came, and there were no cows to abduct. So no cows, no
So they're
aliens.
angry.
That's why they're not in the game. That's
They were
Nintendo's explanation. I have it right here from Miyamoto. There are no aliens. The concept was removed from Breath of the Wild because there were no cows. Now you may be asking, why didn't they just add cows so they could have the aliens? And
Too much work. Too much programming.
yeah, they spent who knows how many weeks developing that cutscene to not have it in the game.
But then they'd have to add at least 6 cows, and that's
At least 6.
that's too much
Yeah,
programming.
they could have just removed the horns from the bulls, but nope.
No.
Nope.
All right, number 4. We'll go through the list. I kind of jumbled some of it, but I wanted to talk about the hookshot first. So
Yeah, I
we'll
don't
go
know
in
where
order.
you're going right now.
We'll go from order. We'll go in order for the list from here on. So number
Right.
4 would be number 2. Number 5 would be number 3. The Return of the Minish. This was also concept art, and I could not find the interview, but it does exist. There's also
I've seen it.
concept art of Link kneeling down, talking to some of the Minish, and there's like their little teeny tiny houses. It was cute. They should be there. I think there is a Minish forest or something like that in Breath of the Wild.
I think it's called Minchi, but it's like
Minchi.
a reference. They like changed one letter.
yeah, like Tingle Island is like
Yeah.
Tingle Island.
Yeah.
So,
The Minish, I don't think it was. I think they just thought it was like a similar concept, but
yeah, maybe it was.
or they said that they were doing the Minish, but they had a placeholder, and there was that the model that they had in the place for that was a tiny character was actually a model from Skyward Sword that they had put in of one of the kids on Skyloft.
Oh,
I remember thinking that was kind of a weird touch.
yeah.
I was like, why is that Skyloft kid tiny? And
Maybe-
Link's kneeling beside him.
Maybe they didn't go with the Minish in this game because Capcom told them no.
Maybe. Or maybe they
Because-
didn't even want to ask Capcom.
Yeah, because in the similar to Super Mario RPG, which was in collaboration with Square Enix. Square Enix developed the game, which is why Super Mario RPG 2 became Paper Mario for the
Yes.
Nintendo 64 because Nintendo did not own the rights to a lot of the characters that was in.
Here.
Yes.
On the image. That little
Yeah.
kid is on. He's the kid
He's the
from Skyloft.
one with the you have to roll into the tree.
Yeah. Weird,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I was actually just looking at that.
Yeah.
Really bad quality of just holding my phone up to the
Yeah.
camera, but you get the idea.
But yeah, my thought is maybe, like, I don't know why Capcom would say no, but as Daniel said, maybe they just didn't want to ask. But it's the same way that Paper Mario was named Paper Mario instead of Super Mario RPG 2, which it was first announced as. And then a lot of the characters in the game they couldn't use because Square Enix owned the rights and not Nintendo, where they were shared, which meant they both had to be in agreement. So it's the same thing with Capcom and Nintendo, which is also why you never see people like Vaddie reappearing. You never really see the Four Sword being mentioned or appearing, even though it looks almost identical to the Master Sword. The Picori Blade or whatever.
Yeah, the Kokiri blade, which becomes the Four Swords, looks almost the
Yeah.
exact same as the Master Sword. But I think once it's the Four Sword, it's different
Yeah.
looking.
So
It's like golden.
yeah, and that's why because Capcom also made Four Swords, that could be another reason why Triforce Heroes was Triforce Heroes and not Four Swords, because maybe they didn't want to get into that discussion with Capcom over 4 links instead of just the 3. So there's a lot of stuff that we don't know what's going on there. But at one point, the Minish, like, they went as far as developing a little town, a little Minish town, putting the characters in and having Link crouch down. So who knows what could have happened. Would you guys have liked to see this? And another part of this, where would you have liked to see the Minish town located?
Somewhere in the, like, well, I want to say like my first instinct is like somewhere fair on woods, like a tiny little town. I think the houses would be smaller even than what that concept art is, and just like tucked away somewhere. But that area is actually pretty densely populated. Like there's already, like if you want to go in that quarter of the map, just that quarter of the map, there's like Kakariko Village, there's Hateno Village, there's Laurelin Village. There's just already a lot of settlements going on, and there's a lot more like spread out. So maybe if you pull it, I don't know, but I don't know where else to put it because geographically, that's where my brain wants to go to because Minish Cap, that's kind of where their village was in that kind of area. So,
but at the same time, like it feels like something that you would like accidentally stumble upon while you're playing.
Yeah. Like instead of having one main central area, if it was just like spread throughout the village. Or like throughout Hyrule.
Or even just to see them like in some treetops or something, just like little tiny huts on some tree branches or something like that, would be really cool.
Yeah, that could be cool. I mean, there are lots of trees, and as far as I'm concerned, their only purpose is just cutting them down and stealing apples. I
would like to see...
You mean bombing them down?
I would like to see the old man having some sort of conflict with the Minish. So like if there was a tribe of the Minish living on the island and the old man's like complaining that every now and then like apples or ingredients for food would start to go missing, and then later on you would find like an apple moving on the ground and it would just be like a Minish carrying it off. I
like that.
Like I think it would have been something hilarious because like the old man is, he's a ghost. Spoiler for the people that didn't make it.
Dare you?
What if someone didn't make it through the first hour of that game released a year ago?
for the people that never played the game for more than an hour, the old man is a ghost. So, like you have this spirit ghost person who is like the spirit of the king of Hyrule, and then he's complaining about these darn Minish that just keep stealing his stuff. So,
and I think like the other races, they're pretty much mandatory to the story to go visit the different races, but I would like to see that this as a very much like an optional thing, like very like Kayla said, like just kind of you stumble upon them as more of a side piece, and it's not really related to the story, but they're there,
Yeah, and like they could have their own side quests because we know like everyone always has their own little side quests. Like Zelda is so packed full of them. And I think it would be just kind of a really cool thing, especially for like longtime Zelda fans and people that have played most of the games. Like that would just be like, oh my gosh, the Minish.
Yeah. Knock Fox in the chat says he says spoiler after he says the spoiler. Yes. All right. So moving on to our next one. Would you like to tell us what our next one is, Daniel? And then we'll go to you, Kayla.
Okay. So actually, these next two are kind of connected, but we'll just go ahead with number.
Yeah,
I want to say number three, but it's number 5.
Yeah, number 5 would lead into number 6.
Yeah. So it's the return of the Kokiri. So we got the Koroks in